What's up, folks? Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video. Today we're going to touch on where do bass go in August. Man, August, it is the heat of the summer, right? Water's getting really, really warm. If it wasn't there already, it tends to get there in August, and it can really change the bass's behavior. So today we're going to go over that, give you some pointers, tips, places to look for them, and methods to catch them on. If you're new to the channel, we're on a charge here, guys, trying to get to that 10,000 subscribers. So if you enjoy the content, you get something out of it, share it with a friend. Make sure you subscribe. We really appreciate you stopping by and joining us. Hopefully, I can help you catch more fish. That's the point of the channel here at The Average Angler. So today we are talking about where do the bass go in August. Bass are driven by cooler temperatures, more oxygen, and food sources for them. So this can lead us to quite a few different places. Number one, we're going to say deeper water, right? Deeper water, it's cooler, tends to be a little more oxygen. And we can run into a couple things here, but let's cover first where these places might be. Main lake points, always a good spot to find fish. Offshore humps, channel ledges, we're talking could be 15 to 30 feet. That can be influenced by something we're going to talk about in a moment here. In clear lakes, sometimes shallower and stained water, they're going to hold near structure, some sort of structure where they can ambush bait fish and also attracts bait fish to that area. Let's go over what to fish on these, okay? I like a 3/4 ounce jig. One of my primary deep water tactics, 3/4 ounce football jig. Here's one sitting right here. This is a common setup for me this time of year. Okay, this is a Rage Craw. Actually, that one's a Rage Chunk. I typically just buy the Rage Craws and I'll shorten them up if I need to. The other one I really like to use is this Fat Pack Baits 3.8 on there, and you'll see little bigger profile than the chunk. Okay, if I have a full size, I wouldn't cut it down quite as short as the chunk is. That's a chunk that's got full size claws but a small body, so you get a few more in a pack. So if you're looking for the bargain hunting and want to get more out of it, that's a good way to go. I don't mind at all trimming the skirt up and fishing it a little more compact like I did here. Tends to help the hookup ratio sometimes. Number two is going to be a deep diving crankbait. In yesterday's video, I mentioned the OSP Magnum EX-DR is a great one. Strike King XD 5 and 6, depending on the depth you're fishing, gets you down to about 20, 21 feet. 6 Sense has some really great deep water crankbaits. Megabass has some deep water crankbaits. The Megabass and the OSP tend to dive much easier. The Strike King XD6, pretty easy to use, along with Berkley Dredger. Okay, Dredger, they're all marked about the depth they go to. Now, some other methods you can use: drop shot, standard Texas rig, and the good old ball and chain, the Carolina rig. Great way to probe deep rock piles and ledges. I really like a Carolina rig on a ledge when you can pop that weight up, pull it off the edge, let it drop down right along that ledge. Really kind of one of the reasons I like that 3/4 ounce jig. It's probably the easiest to do that with. And then the crankbait as it comes over the top of it. Anyway, those are some great ways to probe that deeper water. And don't forget the old flutter spoon, the big 6-inch. They can be fantastic, especially if the fish are keyed on bait and they're down there schooled. It can be a really good way to catch the biggest fish of the bunch. Moving on, another place we're going to find bass this time of year, shade and heavy cover. Shade meaning docks, boat shadows. We all know fish love to suspend out under docks, or even get down on the bottom, because docks tend to be in shallower water. But another place you can look for them is out in marinas, or in some of our lakes here in California. They suspend the boat out there off of a buoy. The shade of those boats, houseboats, all those kinds of things will hold fish up in the water column in the shade under those boats. It can be a great pattern for catching a lot of fish. Doesn't get a lot of pressure. All right, current and oxygen rich areas. And this one always kills me because I've often thought about carrying one of those little dissolved oxygen things in the boat so I can tell, hey, is this a good area or is it not a good area? I've never done it in 50 years of fishing. And nowadays you can probably buy one right off of Amazon. It'll tell you what the dissolved oxygen content is in the water where you're at. It does make a big deal. I just don't really know how to check it. Typically I'm looking for grass, okay? Nice, fresh, green grass, not the stuff that's got the brown moss all over the top of it because they've sprayed it. That tends to lower the oxygen content in the area. So we're talking punching, right? You get to find some nice, good, fresh green grass up to the surface. It's matted out, creates an area of shade, high oxygen content because the grass is producing oxygen. And it also creates that home where those fish are going to want to come and hang out. Not just the big fish that we're fishing for, but the bait fish that are feeding them. Bluegill, shad, whatever other bait fish you may have, they are looking for the same types of stuff because they're all trying to survive and remain strong. So current areas is another one. If you live on a lake that has current, rivers flowing into it, right? Those areas, as long as there's water flowing in, can bring you two things usually. One, it's going to help with the oxygen. But two, oftentimes it has water temperature coming in that's lower than the main lake. It mixes as it comes in, but those areas where the two meet can be fantastic areas. Again, those areas attract bait fish. Those areas are more comfortable for our bass. And it can be a great feeding area and a great catching area. So that's another place you can look for them. Low light times in shallow water. Bass love to feed shallow. We all know that. We all love to fish shallow. I think. I do. I hope you guys do too. I think a lot of you guys, that's what you have to fish is shallow. Low light in the shallows, right? So morning, evening, as that sun's going down or as that sun's just coming up, great time to fish shallow with moving baits, top water baits, those kinds of things to try and catch some easy fish at those low light times. This is my plan for fishing August, and typically what I do, I'm going to start out shallow. I'm going to fish that as long as I can until the activity dies down. Now usually you can tell, like early on you might see some bluegill or even bait fish swimming along weed edges, that kind of thing, moving around docks. When all that stuff dissipates and I'm no longer getting bites in the shallow water, then it's time I'm going to go out offshore. I love offshore fishing. I'm going to pull out that 3/4 ounce football jig. Or the other one that I like to use a lot is the swing head. The swing head is great this time of year to fish those deeper areas. Bonus one, of course, is the shaky head. Shaky head in the summer is very good bait. And I'm not doing a lot of shaking with it, guys. I'm doing more of a pull and stop, pull and stop, or a pop and drop, pop it up, let it drop. Let it settle for a minute, because as that bait settles, that worm's still slowly moving back there until it completely stops. So give it a second, couple seconds as it hits the bottom. Let that worm settle a little bit, pop it up again. And remember, you don't always have to use a worm. You can use a creature bait on a shaky head. You can use a craw worm on a shaky head. Mess around, try different things, right? The great thing about when you do find fish offshore this time of year is they're typically schooled up. So you don't have to move around a whole lot. Now you may have to change baits, but I've sat on spots this time of year and fished all day long. Never moved. Spot locked, and I stayed there. And all I did was had a rotation of like 5 different baits. Didn't even have different heads on. I just had different baits on them. So I might have used a brush hog. Well, I did use a brush hog. I used a Strike King Rage Bug, 2 or 3 different colors, if I remember right. I used a 3/4 ounce football jig. Again, none of this stuff was I fishing slow. The fish are typically charged up. Remember, their metabolism is high. They're going to that deeper water because it's more comfortable. I don't know what the difference is, but it's every so many feet you go down, the water temperature drops. So it is more comfortable, higher oxygen content, and a lot of times they're down there on a school of bait. So they are very active and they will eat. We just need to find what it is they want. They stop biting, make a change. Fish that until they stop, make a change. But I never had to leave this spot, and this has happened several times, all day long. It was just insane. But that is the fun of fishing in the summertime and getting out offshore, is you can do that. As the days going by, if you guys stay out that long, not everybody does, but some people like to go out later and fish that evening bite. The evening bite can be really, really good because you get that top water as the sun starts to set, and you actually have a lot more time oftentimes in that morning top water bite when the sun comes up, and boy, it seems to shut off quick. The evening, generally, it just gets better and better and better until it's dark. Hopefully this video helps a bit about where you should look for the fish this time of year, how I approach it. I like to start shallow, go out, then come back. Now, if you're on a shallower fishery, I've covered this in a video before, but grass mats, shade, trees, overhang, that kind of stuff, wood laydowns in the water, those things can provide shade. We may not be able to see it, but if there is a tree laid down into the water and has branches coming out off it, there's going to be shade in several places. These could be good places to look. Again, I'm still going to use a jig. I love a jig this time of year. I'm just going to switch to a Arky style head, something like this Dirty Jigs here. See, it's an Arky style. It's kind of flat. Frisbee, well, pancake more shape. This is a 3/8 ounce pitching jig. Typically, I'm going to use 3/8, 5/8, somewhere in between there, with a good chunk on the back. Same trailers I would have used on the other stuff. That Fat Pack 3.8, the Rage Bug, or the Rage Craw. Something with a lot of presence and movement in the summertime. Okay, when wintertime rolls around, we'll get into some other stuff that I like to use. But right now, it's active water, active fish, and we're trying to get some big bites. Sean the Average Angler, thanks for watching. Hope that helped you. I'm wanting to hear you guys caught some more fish this summer. All right, we'll see you on the next one.